Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to talk about strings. String is one of the Python primitive data types. It basically represents a string of characters, and these include not just plain texts, but also symbols, punctuations, and we can even have digits in our string. To create a string, we simply enclose our characters by quotes, and either double quotes or single quotes will work. So for example, I can create a string variable x with Johnny as my values, and I'm enclosing Johnny with single quotes. Now if I check the data type of x, I can see that x is a string data type. I can even print out the value of x, which is Johnny. I can do the exact same thing with double quotes. So if I enclose Johnny with double quotes, and I can check the data type, which tells me that x also belongs to string, and we are having the exact value as what we have before. A string can also contain punctuations and digits. For example, I can create another string variable y, which I will say that its value is equals to 100,000. If we check the data type of y, we can see that it is string, and we can print out its value. Now, what about if I want my string to contain quotes as well? Well, in that case, we can use what's called the escape character or the backslash symbol. For example, let's say if I want to create a string variable x, which has a value of Johnny's friend. Now, because we have a single quote inside our string, this creates some syntax error. The Python only recognizes Johnny as string because it is between the first two single quotes, and then it doesn't recognize the s and the friends at the end. So to get around with that, we can add a backslash in front of the single quote that tells Python that these special characters will output a literal single quote. So if we print out the variable k, you can see that we have a single quote over here, just as what we expected. We can also output double quotes using the same method. There are some useful special characters. First one is the \n. This \n outputs a new line. So for example, let's say the variable k, which is our string variable, is Johnny likes to play tennis. If I insert a \n over here and I print out the value of k, you can see that there's a new line added after the word like. There is also another special character, which is \t. These represent a horizontal tab. So if I change this n to t and print out the value, you can see that there is a tab added after the word like. There is another special character, which is \b. This represents backspace. So if we change t to b and then print out the value of variable k, you can see that the letter e in the word like has been deleted. This is because we added a backspace after the letter e. If we want to create a very long string that contains multiple lines, we can do it by triple quotes. So for example, I'm having a triple quote in the beginning and a triple quote at the end. In the middle, I can just have some random text line number 1, random text line number 2, random text line number 3, and I can print out the value of p. You'll see that we have random text line number 1, random text line number 2, random text line number 3. Now let's talk about indexing. You can select characters of a string based on their indices. All indices start with 0. Let's use our variable x as an example. So x contains the value of Johnny. If I want to select the first character, which is this capitalized J, I can append a square bracket after my variable, and then inside my square bracket I can pass the value of 0. In this case, it will select the first character. Now if I change 0 to 1, then it will select the second character. I can also pass in the negative values. Negative values start counting from the end of the string. So -1 means that we are selecting the last letter in our string. -2 means that we are selecting the letter second to the last, etc. Other than just selecting a single index, we can select a range of indices. So for example, I can pass 0 column 4. This means that we will be selecting the letter with index 0 but excluding the letter with index 4. So this is how Python interpreted a range of index. It will start with the first index, but it will stop at the second index -1. We can try another example. So let's say 2 to 5. Then it will select H, which has an index number 2, and then stop at N, which has an index number 4. If we are starting from the beginning of the string, we can actually omit the first number. So for example, 0 to 4 is equivalent of just column 4. Same thing if we are stopping at the end of a string, we can omit the second character. So for example, 4 to 6 is equivalent to 4 column without the second number 6. Lastly, let's talk about some operations that you can do with string. You can concatenate two strings together by using the plus symbol. Let me add x and y together. Now x contains the value of Johnny and y contains the value of 100,000. So by adding two strings together, we are simply getting a longer string with concatenation of the first string and the second string. We can even multiply the string by a constant that will simply produce a repetition of string. So for example, if I say 3 times x, it will create a longer string with Johnny repeated 3 times. You can check the length of a string by using the length function. So for example, length of x is 6 and then length of y is 7. There are many functions that are specific to strings. To implement these string functions, simply append a dot and the function name after your string variable. So let's go back and use our string variable k as our example. Johnny likes to play tennis. Okay. First function I want to show you is called upper. So to use that, simply append a dot symbol after your string variable and then the upper, which is the function name, and then at the end we need to put parentheses. This function basically converts all your characters into uppercase. There's a similar function called dot lower. This function basically converts all your letters into lowercase. There's another one called title. Title function capitalizes the first letter of each word. You can also search your string. So for example, if I want to search where is the first occurrence of double N, we can use this find function. Okay, find function shows us that double N first occurs at the third index, which is over here. If we use rfind instead of just find, list will find the last occurrence of double n. So in this case, the last occurrence of double n is on index number 22. There is another function I want to show you, which is the split. Split function determines how you want to split your strings into individual parts and then by which special character. In this case, I'm passing a white space, which means that this function will split our long string Johnny likes to play tennis into different chunks with white space as our division point. So because white space separates each word individually, the output will just be individual words. If we are splitting our string by the letter E, then the end result will just be 3 substrings because we have 2 E's in our original string. The data type of this thing is called a list. List is something that we will talk about later in the future course, so don't worry about it if you don't know too much. But basically, list combine multiple values all together into a single variable. We will talk about this in the future. Another function I want to show you is called replace. Replace function has 2 parameters. First one is what substring you want to replace, and then the second parameter is what string you want to replace with. So for example, if I want to replace every NN with OO, just for an example, then the output will just be like this. There are still a whole bunch string functions. To check the list of all the string functions, we can simply add a dot symbol at the end of the string variable and then press tab. After you pressing the tab, a list of all the string functions will show up. You can browse this list and determine which one you want to use. This basically concludes everything that I want to talk about for string. Let me know if you have any question by leaving a comment below. I will try to answer it as soon as possible. Okay, I'll see you next